Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I found this on Twitter and I thought maybe you'd find it interesting. This happened September 1st and September 2nd, so stick with me on this. This is a thread by Ted Cruz. Now, he was responding actually to this post by Alyssa Milano, who said, "Can someone cite which passage of the Bible God states it is a God-given right to own a gun? This guy is unbelievable and is clearly owned by the gun lobby." And she was talking about this by Matt Schaefer. Okay? And so if you go back on these and you see Ted Cruz responded to her and said, "An excellent cue," like the cue there, "worth considering carefully without the snark of Twitter. It is, of course, not the right to a modern-day firearm that is God-given, but rather the right to life and the right to liberty. Essential to that right to life is the right to defend your life and your family." And then he goes on, "The right to self-defense is recognized repeatedly in the Bible." And he gave this example from Exodus 22:2. "If a thief is caught breaking in at night and is struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed." Note, though, verse 3 says it is murder if during daylight. In other words, not self-defense. So, you can't just take bits and pieces out of the Bible and say that's all there is to it. The Bible is to be taken as a whole. And, you've got to understand it in context. And a lot of people don't do that, especially these Hollywood types. Pete Buttigieg is really good at doing this. "The Declaration of Independence acknowledges our rights thusly. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And for that reason, the Second Amendment provides the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." It wasn't to protect people's ability to hunt or to shoot target practice, but to defend their lives, their homes, and their families. Stephen Williford exercised that fundamental right when he risked his own life to stop the Sutherland Springs murderer, saving countless others as a result. St. George Tucker, one of the most important scholars in early America, explained the reasons behind the Second Amendment as follows. "This may be considered as the true palladium of liberty. The right of self-defense is the first law of nature. In most governments, it has been the study of rulers to confine this right within the narrowest limits possible. Wherever the right to keep and bear arms is, under any pretext whatsoever, prohibited, liberty, if not already annihilated, is on the brink of destruction." That's also why, post-Civil War, disarming Black Americans was a critical objective of the KKK and was memorialized in countless Jim Crow laws to strip African Americans of their God-given right to self-defense from violence. I'm a Texan. Well, he is a Texan. I'm a Hoosier. What happened in Midland, Odessa, and El Paso, Santa Fe, and Sutherland Springs was sick, deranged, and horrifying. We need to do much more to stop violent criminals and those with dangerous mental illness before they murder, and I'm leading the fight in the Senate to do so. Playing politics with these deranged crimes and trying to use them as an excuse to violate the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens won't make anybody safer. Forcible gun confiscation, as some 2020 Dems urge, won't prevent mass murders, but it would weaken our self-defense. Okay? And so that is his thread on this, that his response was to Alyssa Milano. Now, if we go up just a little bit here, we've got to go back another screen there. And he took a little shot at Bette Midler because Bette Midler responded to Senator Ted Cruz, said, Heidi and I are heartbroken by this heinous attack, and we are lifting up in prayer all the victims, their families, and their entire Midland, Odessa community. You know, I'm just surprised at how many people are so outraged when we say we'll pray for somebody. They have no clue how powerful prayer is. You know, they really don't. Anyway, so this is what Bette Midler had to say. You and your broken heart. Fake you. You are spineless and utterly without morality or shame. Your words mean zero. You keep repeating the same sentiments and take no action in the Senate, the chamber where you could actually bring some change to America if you really cared. Okay, well, the major thing is you can't legislate it away. The problem is not the legislation. We have gun laws. And if they were being upheld like they should be, they're sufficient. Really, they are. What we need is people's minds to be changed and their hearts to be changed. And that's not going to come by driving people further away from God. That's in my opinion. Okay, I understand not everybody sees it that way, but in my opinion, that's the only solution is a changed heart, and that only comes from God. Anyway, so Ted Cruz says, Bet you're an amazing singer, but spewing hate and insults only contributes to the tragic division in our nation. I've led the fight in the Senate to stop felons and those with serious mental illness from getting guns. In 2013, Dems filibustered that bill. And he gives the link to that, so you can read it yourself. Well, and then here's another one. And this is from Debra Messing, who seems to be on a mission to dox anyone who supports Trump in any way. And so she's posted this, how to find who donated to Trump in your area. I mean, serious, they have this whole article here about how you can find out who donated to Trump so you can abuse them, essentially. You can harass them and you can just, yeah, I don't even want to think about it. So that's what she says. I like what he puts here. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. So, yeah, there's going to be some things coming out that's going to stop. Anyway, this is just a couple of them in between here. This is a good point that Ted Cruz points out. Gun control doesn't work. Look at Chicago. Disarming law-abiding citizens isn't the answer. Stopping violent criminals, prosecuting and getting them off the streets before they commit more violent crimes is the most effective way to reduce murder rates. Let's protect our citizens. And that was in response to this Breitbart tweet about at least 25 people were shot, 7 fatally during the first half of Labor Day weekend in Democrat-controlled Chicago. And see, Chicago has some of the strongest gun laws out there. So when people start coming to me and they talk about, oh, we need stronger gun laws, I say, no, wait a minute. Then why isn't Chicago working? You know, they have very strict gun laws there. Why are there still people being shot? And lots of them that our news is not covering. And that really honks me off that they're doing that because, you know, here we have people who are being shot. These are mass shootings. I mean, people are being shot. And yet we don't care because it doesn't fit into their narrative. And so here is a response by Alyssa Milano. Believe it or not, she responded to Ted Cruz. And so she said, I'd love to come in and meet with you on the gun issue and many other issues that include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And also 1 Peter 4:8. Well, you have to look at 1 Peter 4:8, which is, above all, love each other deeply because love covers over a multitude of sins. But see, she's totally ignoring what all came before that because, you know, there's some stuff in here. I'm kind of thinking living in debauchery and lust, drunkenness, orgies, carousing. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that posing nude and having nudie photos out there. And I'm kind of thinking her lifestyle is more like that than it is the rest of this, which is where it's talking about that. And those aren't the kind of sins that it covers over, okay? Because let's face it, if you love someone, if you're married to somebody or you have a parent or something and you can dearly love them, but they can beat the snot out of you. And if they do that, that physical abuse is a sin. And yet you're saying love covers a multitude of sins. It's not going to cover that. Okay? There's no way you should just overlook what they did because you love them. It's really not a loving thing to just excuse people's sins. I mean, there's times when somebody does something minor and it's just not worth it. You really have to look at this verse in the context of the entire chapter, in the context of the entire Bible, because that's how it works. And unfortunately, there's a lot of liberals these days who are picking bits and pieces out of the Bible, who are saying, well, the Bible says this. Well, you're ignoring the entire rest of what it says. You can't do that with the Bible. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to take it in context. Well, anyway, so she quotes it, and it always just kind of makes a shiver run down my spine when people like this quote the Bible. She probably has not read any of it. She just heard somebody say that, and so she picked that verse out. I'll be in D.C. next week. We can live stream the meetings so the American people can hear your BS firsthand. Okay, well, this does not say you're very loving there, Alyssa. Yeah, so evidently you're not covering over a bunch of sins, but you want us to do that. It's the way the liberals work. Oh, drives me nuts. They expect you to hold fast to what the Bible says and to obey absolutely everything in it, but they don't want to have any part in it and don't expect them to live up to the same standards. Oh no, we don't want that. I was married to a guy like that once. I understand. They expect you to have different standards than they do. Well, anyway, Ted Cruz did have a response to her, and he did a good job with it. He said, I'd be happy to sit down and visit next week about uniting to stop gun violence and about the Constitution. If we can have a civil and positive conversation in the spirit of 1 Peter 4:8, as you suggest, despite our political differences, that might help resolve the discord in our nation. Yeah, I kind of think that's not really going to happen. And if she does go through with it, I think it would be really bad for her to do because it's going to show everybody just who she is. She will not be able to hide her anger and her hatred. She just won't be able to. I've seen her before. I saw her in the Kavanaugh hearing and how she was planning a great big disruption there and probably part of something bigger that was supposed to happen, but it didn't because we had a lot of good patriots on the alert. But she was going to cause some real problems there. And so I just can't imagine having her sit there and be civil to Ted Cruz. I just don't see that because that's just not how it works. So anyway, I thought I would share that with you. I thought maybe you'd find that interesting because, this is how they respond. This is how things work. And I'm going to be interested to see what happens with this. But again, I don't expect her to really respond in any way. She says we can live stream. Yeah, if she does, I'm just so sure all it's going to do is reveal how much hatred and anger she has in her. And I feel really bad that she does. I grew up with her on TV. I saw her and I thought she seemed like a pretty cool person. No, not so much anymore. But anyway, that's the way it works. So anyway, this was something interesting too, by the way, and I'm just going to toss this out there because he has this as his pinned tweet and it's been there since February 20th, but makes sense to me, why not take El Chapo's gains, all of the money that they should have seized from him and just use it to secure the border? Why not? I think it makes sense. And there should be, I've got to ask, does anybody know why Epstein's assets have not been seized? Because according to that executive order Trump put out, they should have been the minute that he was involved in human trafficking. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen or what. I'm expecting it to happen, but we should be collecting an awful lot of seized assets from that particular executive order. And I haven't seen any report. I did find a list of people who have had their assets seized or frozen. And it's quite long, like many, 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 many pages. But all it does is list the people. And Epstein's not on the list. And most of the people on there were like from the Middle East. So they had those kinds of names. So I don't know. I just think that we should be getting a lot of money like that into our coffers because there's an awful lot who have suddenly been picked up for doing that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring to you. I'll put the link down below to Ted Cruz and especially that thread, but some of the others I'm going to let you look those up. That's it for this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you all later.